Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and we are already in the middle of fall. I'm aware of that. However, it's California where I live and fall really doesn't start until October. So we have the Halloween decor decorations up. The fall season has begun. It's chilly in the mornings. I feel cold. So with that in mind, we're going to talk about the books that I would love to read in the fall season, basically October and November 2024. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So the first thing is, for this time of year, I love to read more cozy fantasy and more spooky books, especially for the month of October. I really try to prioritize the scary books on my shelves because I don't really feel like there's any other good time to read them. So with that in mind, let's talk about some scary books. Let's start out with The Silent Patient by Alex McLetis. I know I'm mispronouncing that. We do that every time. But basically, from my understanding, this is about a psychologist who has a patient to work with where she essentially refuses to talk. She, from what it sounds like, murdered her husband, and since the murder, she hasn't said a word to anyone or to anybody. So he's trying to figure out what happened in the case. I think this is going to be creepy. I think this is going to be thrilling. I hope there's not too many jump scares. And I know this is a really well-liked book in the thriller category, so I'm hoping I enjoy it. Next, let's talk about some fantasy. I think that was the only spooky book that I have that's currently on my shelves that I really would love to get to, but let's talk about some like fun fantasy. So a couple ones that have been on my shelves for a minute since the beginning of this year, new releases. This is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This I think is like a paranormal spicy book, and I've heard really good things about this. I think it's a werewolf love story. I'm very much into it. It's giving like Maggie Stiefvater, oh my gosh, what was the one she wrote about the werewolves? That type of vibe. If you know, you know. I read that one in high school. But hello, I know Ali Hazelwood stuff can be a little bit spicy, so I'm very excited to read this and finally crack into her books because I haven't read one of them yet. I know, criminal. Next, let's talk about The Spell Shop. I think this one is going to be so cute, and I'm obsessed with the cover art on this. Stunning. And the sequel's coming out, or like One in the Same World by this author, Sarah Beth Durst, and I'm so excited to read it. This, I think, essentially is about a girl who works at a library. Handsome man. It just gives like cute, cozy fantasy vibes. I really actually don't know too much about this. I don't normally lean into witchy books, but this one just gives me such cute, like lovely, romantic, fun fantasy vibes that I'm very excited for it. Along with fun fantasy, I need to finish my reading of Travis Beldry's Bone Shop, or no, what are these? Legends and Lattes. I think this is a duology. If there's another one coming out, please let me know. But this is Bookshops and Bone Dust, and I'm so excited to read this. I think this is the prequel to Legends and Lattes, which I was obsessed with. Such a cute, cozy little fantasy read. Such a little slice of life. I loved the characters in that, and yeah, I'm excited to read this one. I think it'll be really cute. Okay. Next, let's talk about another, I think probably a little creepy. This is, of course, Leigh Bardugo's The Familiar. This came out, I think, this year or last year. Also, those end pages, stunning. This, I think, is about a woman, Louisa, basically discovering, let me remind myself, I can't even remember. Yeah, she basically turns into a connection with an immortal. I can't remember. There's like a tie, there's fantasy, it's dark, it's, I think, a little bit creepy. I mean, look at the scorpion coming out of the sleeve, very disturbing. I think this is set during like the Spanish Revolution. I think she plunges into a world of seekers, alchemists, holy men, and huskers, where the lines between magic, science, and fraud are never certain. There you go. I'm excited. I think it'll be good. I haven't read Leigh Bardugo's books since the Shadow and Bone series, so I'm excited about it. I also would love to get to her 2 books and the rest of the duology for King of Scars. That would also potentially be on my list, but yeah, I have a lot of backlist from her. I also have Ninth House somewhere on here. On these shelves, that also needs to be read as well by her. So we're backlist on our Leigh Bardugo. Okay, next, let's talk about Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I have both of the beautiful, I think these are UK covers. I forget, I got them online. But essentially, I would love to read this duology this fall. It just gives fall vibes. This essentially is about a couple during World War II, I think, but it has a magical connection. I think this will be really good. There's letters involved. I think it's going to be stunning. I want to read this so badly, and I think it's going to be good. Okay. Oh, let's talk about some nonfiction. This is Tools for Everyday Life's Ups and Downs. Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before by Dr. Julie Smith. I genuinely think this is like a life self-help tool. It's pretty high level from what it looks like. The font is large and in charge. I think it's literally just dealing with criticism and disapproval, when good stress goes bad, how to create a life with meaning, like just very high level life book stuff. I think it'll be good. I'm very high level when it comes to self-help books. I take what's relevant to me, I leave the rest behind, and I think that's just good practice for most self-help books. But yeah, overall I think this will be really good. I'm enjoying it. I also have the audiobook that I need to listen to as well. But yeah, I think this is going to be good, and I'm excited. Okay, another one. This has been, okay, I feel a lot of shame talking about this one because I wanted to read this very quickly, and I got this back in I think like the summertime, and I have not read it yet still, and I need to finish it. I'm like a chapter in, but this essentially is All in Her Head: The Truth and Lies Early Medicine Has Taught Us About Women's Bodies and Why It Matters Today. Need I say any more? Pretty self-explanatory. This is by Elizabeth Coman, MD. It's really good. There's a lot in this. It's pretty, from what I've at least read so far. I appreciate that it's a pretty high level, and it basically just states the facts. Like, this is what's happened. These are the people that have been involved with it. Obviously, medicine is a very male-predominated industry, and I'm very intrigued to see what this has to say. Like I said, I've only read one chapter so far, and everything that it wrote so far in the first chapter, I was like, yes. So I'm obsessed. I've been trying to be better around understanding women's bodies, and just in the age that we're in, I think it's a good thing to know and understand. So health, wealth, importance. I think this will be good. Okay, and oh, I'm throwing these all on my bed, and I'm trying to make sure they don't fall to the ground. Okay, rapid fire. Let's talk about the last few. These are more backlist ones that I just really would love to get to. The Fountain of Silence. I love Ruta Sepetys books so desperately, and I've been trying to read this for far too long, but it's dense, it's thick, she's big. This basically is about Madrid in 1957 under the oppressive dictatorship of General Francisco Franco, and the life in Spain. So her books always cover a really fascinating tidbit of history and part in history that I think is very untouched and undiscussed. So I'm really excited to read this and see what she has to say. I think it's going to be really, really good. And I've tried to read this multiple times. It's been on my TBR like list for multiple years. I need to just knock it out. I need to read this book. It's gonna happen. Okay. Another couple ones that have been on my TBRs for a little while. This is Before Your Memory Fades by Toshikazu Kamaguchi, and this is the continuation. I think this is the third book in the Before Your Coffee Grows Cold series. This essentially follows a cute little cafe where you can go back in time if you drink a certain cup of coffee in a certain seat, but essentially you only can stay in that cafe. And I need to, I think, do like a high level reminder of what this series covers, because the unfortunate thing for me reading translated work is the names are not easy. Like, I mix up the characters pretty regularly, so I need to go back and like get like a character chart of who's who, so that when I'm reading this I can fully appreciate what's happening in these stories, because there's I think 2 more that have come out since this one, and I need to read them. So that's on the list. Okay, let's talk about another one that's been on a list for quite a while, The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. I will read this book in my lifetime. Will I read it this year? Ideally, yes. Realistically, I don't know. This is such a short little book. It's one of his most famous works, obviously behind Chronicles of Narnia. I love C.S. Lewis's writing so much. I love his stuff. I want to read more of his works, but I just, every time I try to read this, I get maybe like 20% into it, and I just can't keep going with it. But essentially, if you haven't heard of this, it's a very famous book. It's essentially the letters of a demon writing to his nephew of how they operate within the world. So I think it's super interesting. Every time I read it, I pick it up, I enjoy it. I just can't seem to stick with it. So I really would hope to finish it. I think it's really going to be good. I think it's pretty quick read too, to be honest. I just need to find the motivation to stick with it. So there you go. Okay. two more and then we're done. And these are both middle grade series I want to read. I just got this in the mail and I think it's stunning. If you guys haven't heard of this, this is a really good, I hope they continue with this series. This essentially is the Wingbear saga. This is the second one, Wingborn. From what I can remember, this I think came out like a couple years ago. This follows a girl who was raised by birds and basically is trying to find her place in the world and goes on adventures. She hooks up with some friends. I think this is really cute. I remember really loving the book when I read it originally a couple of years ago, and they finally came out with a sequel, and I'm so excited to have it in my hands. I'm definitely going to reread the first one in the series just to remind myself of like what happens in this world before I jump into the second one, but I'm really excited to have this in my hands, and I want to read this immediately. Okay, and the last thing that we have here on my, oh, hang on, I gotta peel a sticker off, on my lap is another middle grade. This is The One and Only Family by Catherine Applegate. This is essentially the, I think, final book in the series of The One and Only Ivan that came out years ago. This is just a cute read. I love these series. I've read every one that she's come out with. They're so cute. They essentially follow different characters of this family loosely used, of some creatures, a gorilla, a elephant, and a dog, yeah, that were once kept in horrible conditions in a zoo, or like not even a zoo, like a mall circus type of situation. And yeah, it just kind of touches on like animal cruelty and like where animals should be. They end up, spoiler alert, if you haven't read the series, they all do end up at a zoo by the end of the series, or at least the end of The One and Only Ivan, which to me makes my heart so happy because it's just such a happy ending for these creatures that essentially were taken out of their homes, put in these horrible conditions, and now can apparently make a little family, which I think is so cute. So yeah, I think this one's going to be really good. They're such quick reads. These are all middle grade stories. The chapters are very short, more written in verse than anything, like Catherine Applegate's pretty traditional middle grade style. I think it's going to be really good. I'm really excited to read this, and I think it'll give me little warm and fuzzies. Okay, so yeah, that's everything I'm hoping to read in the months of October and November. I probably even have more than this if I'm being honest, just based on what comes through on my Libby account, what I pick up at the library. It's all purely random. I'm a very emotional reader. I kind of just pick things up at random, and yeah, so I try to give myself a little bit of structure. We'll see how many of these I end up getting through in the next couple months with wrap-ups, but overall, if there's one in particular you guys are really excited for me to check out, let me know down in the comments below. I love talking with you guys down there, and yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to see more of my face, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!